Please welcome Chen Schimmel, photograph journalist, presenting October 7th, Bear Witness.
Good afternoon. I'm Chen Schimmel. I'm 26 and I'm a photojournalist. I didn't always think I would be a photojournalist. I picked up a camera when I was young, and without even thinking about it, I knew this was my way of seeing the world. This was my form of expression, my way of telling stories. It started with street photography, just walking, watching, capturing a moment and making it still. But as I got older, I felt it wasn't enough. I didn't want to use my camera just to capture moments. I wanted to document, to bear witness. I think the first time I truly did was when I stood in Auschwitz when I was only 17. I was on a school trip, but it wasn't just a school trip. For me, it was deeper than that. It was personal. My grandmother fled Poland as a baby. Her family escaped into Russia with nothing. Her father fought with the Russian army against the Nazis. His parents and all 8 of his siblings were murdered. He was the only one left. My grandma means the world to me. I've always been close to her. She once spoke 14 languages. Today she is 86 and she speaks none. She has lost her ability to speak, yet her mind and her heart are still fully there. I sit with her, I read to her, I hold her hand. I watch her try to communicate with her eyes, and it breaks something inside of me. Because I know how much she carries and how much of it she can no longer say. So when the sirens rang on October 7th, I knew I had to go. We were all together at my parents' house. The sirens went off early in the morning. I remember my youngest brother, Ami, who had just drafted, running into the safe room and grabbing his phone and saying, "Dead bodies, dead soldiers' bodies everywhere." We didn't understand what he was saying until the day went on and on and on. My older brother Yishai left immediately, headed down south and fought in Kibbutz Be'eri. My brother Ami left for his base late that afternoon. As I watched 3 of my brothers leave one after the other, I knew that I couldn't just sit still. I had to go and witness, and I had to go and document. Getting down south at the time wasn't simple. The roads were closed, the army was locking everything down, and I didn't have the right gear or clearance. But my father volunteered with Zaka. And when I found out he was going, I knew that that was my way in. It wasn't planned, it wasn't official, but I took the opportunity to go and document. We left early in the morning. I sat in the back of the car, quiet, just watching the road. I didn't know exactly where we were going. I just knew that wherever we were heading was going to change me. We arrived in Be'eri. The streets were silent. The smell still lingers. Everything was still. Bikes were lying where children had dropped them. Car doors left open. Bullet casings scattered across the ground. The houses were scorched. Windows blown out. Bullet holes everywhere. Life had been frozen in the middle of itself and then shattered. Be'eri was once home to around 1,200 people. On October 7th, 95 of them were murdered and 30 of them were taken hostage. Since that day, I haven't stopped documenting. I have traveled up and down the country, photographed inside Gaza, on the Lebanon border, with hostage families, injured soldiers, evacuees, Nova survivors, and Zaka. Amidst the pain and the darkness, I was surprised to discover a quiet hope, an unshakable resilience of our people, a nation that refuses to be defined by what tried to break it. Some of these moments, and many others, are a part of a book I've been quietly working on, coming out before this coming October 7th. The book is titled October 7th, Bearing Witness, and all proceeds from the book will go to support soldiers living with trauma. Today I want to bring you into just two of these moments, two stories that have stayed with me about what it means to bear witness to both the tragedy and the triumph. Both took place in Berry on two different occasions, but together they hold what the first year following October 7th was for me. The first story is the photograph you see behind me. I named it Holy Work, and it was taken just a couple of weeks after the massacre. It shows a Zaka volunteer on his hands and knees carefully collecting blood from the floor of a home where an elderly man was bludgeoned to death. Gathering it with such care, with reverence, in an act of ultimate respect. Holy Work for me is one of the most profound and heartbreaking photographs I've captured, because it doesn't just show the horror of what happened, it shows what we do in response. It shows the humanity and the strength, the sacredness of this work. There is a stillness in this photograph, and yet at the same time it shouts so loudly. The second story took place in December, 2 weeks just before Hanukkah. I had gone back to Be'eri. It was early in the morning, quiet and still. And then I saw him, Yuval, one of the Haran family members kneeling in the ruins of what had once been his family's home. On October 7th, his father had stood in front of the safe room holding a kitchen knife while his wife, his daughter, and his grandchildren were inside. He was trying to protect them, and he was murdered. And 7 members of the family were taken hostage into Gaza from the window. And now Yuval had returned to sift through what was left, searching for fragments of a life that had once been there. There you can see him in the photograph behind me, God's rays and buckets. 2 members of the Haran family are crouched low in what used to be their parents' bedroom. Everything around them is scorched. Broken glass, twisted metals, pieces of a home that was once full of life. And then there's light. It cuts through the window, sharp and soft at the same time, falling into the ash and the dust. You see the darkness and the destruction, yet the light is there. It breaks through ever so softly. This moment and the photograph that holds it left its mark on me, because it captures something of who we are as a people who know how to spin the light out of the darkness, who take what has been shattered and refuse for that to be the end of the story. We don't deny the grief, we carry it to rebuild, to return, and to lift the light again. This photograph is not about what was destroyed. It is about what couldn't be destroyed. And that is the triumph of the human spirit. And that is what I saw in that room and that light. That's what calls me back again and again, to bear witness, to document, to carry it forward, and to honor the people who can no longer speak for themselves. And part of that is for my grandma. She can't speak the way she used to, but she still carries everything. And I carry her story too with my camera, because the story isn't over, and neither is the light.
Thank you, Chel, so much for touching everyone here.